Hey y'all, happy Baby Friday. Betty here with Compliant Healthcare Solutions, and thanks for joining for another Healthcare Happenings. And I am very pleased to have my friend and colleague, Kimberly Jolivette Williams, joining us today.
Happy Friday Eve, everybody.
We are going to discuss micro-credentials today. So I wanted to introduce Kim a little bit, and then I want to show something before we get into our discussion. But I can see as people start coming in here too. Oh, Lady is on. Hey, Lady, how you doing? And Camilla, thanks. Hope you're having a good day. But Kimberly has been in healthcare for over 20 years in medical auditing, coding, and or billing with her expertise in the healthcare industry. And she's got over 10 years in upper management experience and over 8 years as a medical healthcare educator with Dallas County Community College and AAPC. And recently in 2020, Kimberly moved over into the compliance arena. So welcome, Kim. I'm so glad to have you today.
Yes.
We got a lot of people jumping on. So Alina and Haley.
Barbara. Hey, Barbara.
Yeah. It reminds me of like Romper. Now I know I'm aging myself again, but Romper Room when we were a kid, and you had the lady with the magic mirror. I see Tommy and Jeannie. And
Yes. So fun, right?
But before we get started, I wanted to also just put up something, for those of y'all that are regular watchers, listeners of mine, and follow me on LinkedIn, y'all know that I was in the lovely Hurricane Ian here recently. It was 6 weeks ago yesterday.
Glad you're safe. Yes.
Thank you. Still don't have a roof, still don't have front doors, but we're getting there. But we just had Hurricane Nicole that hit yesterday. Luckily, it was on the east side of Florida. So now we have her blowing outside, but just as a tropical storm. So, it's not that bad. But I wanted to show everybody some of the pictures of some of the destruction, from Ian. So I just wanted to share some photos because people have been asking. So this is one of the bridges that we used to have in Florida that was going over to one of the islands. And as you can see, there's no more bridge there.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
And this is what we're talking about. So this is what there's somebody's boat up there, you'll notice, in where, the houses used to be.
Oh my goodness.
It's
amazing that y'all are okay. Oh my goodness.
So you can see in the background where, the rubble and stuff is starting to pile up. These are roofs of homes because they're completely underwater.
Oh no.
So people were on top of their roofs trying to, get rescued, the ones that stayed. And this is how, unfortunately, a lot of people did end up dying because they drowned because they couldn't get, above ground there.
Oh my God.
And here, and that's off. You can see the beach in the background there. So that was, where everything just came blowing in at full force. And again, here,
my goodness, that's so devastating. Oh, wow.
Yeah, you can see the boat again in the middle of where the, mobile homes and things are. You can see a couple boats there on the side, all stacked up, and, so it was moving boats into the sides of buildings and all kind of stuff in here.
Oh, my goodness.
So that, I know, things get hot on the news for a little while and then things move on, so people,
right.
These pictures were just taken a couple days ago. So, I mean, this is like consistent down here.
So I just like lady, I'm like, oh my God, I'm praying for everyone. I have so many colleagues that I know in that Florida area, and I'm just praying for all of you. You, Christine, Lexi. I just pray y'all all stay safe.
So I know it's, getting close to holiday time, and with the, economy the way it is currently, everybody's having tough times. But if anybody would like to donate to the Florida Disaster Relief Fund, this is one that Governor DeSantis's wife had set up, and all the money goes directly to, the Ian victims. So just something I wanted to kind of show people that, while we're rebuilding, there's still a lot of places that are in bad shape.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that with us and letting us see how you all, were impacted. But I am so grateful to God that y'all all are okay, because that could be so devastating.
Definitely. All the, we got a little nervous when they said we got another one coming, that everybody's just gonna, but yeah, it's just like, well, we got through that one. I think we're good for most things, and it's whatever God's will, and you just kind of put your trust up there,
So that's right. Definitely.
Yeah. But thank you, everybody, for all the comments. Jacob was asking, hi, Jacob, is the current hurricane doing more damage? Over on the east side, they did have some damage to some of the beaches in Daytona, or not Daytona, the beach over on the Fort Lauderdale side. They had one of the buildings, I think, collapsed. They've got about 300,000 people that don't have power right now, where we had like a third of the state was out. So, I mean, it's bad, but it's not like Ian was, thankfully. But yes, there are people again without power and everything. So thank you, everybody. Please keep up, your prayers for everybody down here. It's definitely appreciated.
Definitely. We'll keep y'all in our prayers for sure. Yes.
Thank you. All right, so now on to our topic of discussion today, and with you, Kimberly. Before we talk about the micro-credentials, I gave a teaser of your background. So do you want to expand upon that a little bit more?
Well, yes, I always start off with telling everybody, be patient with me because I'm a raging Cajun Leo, right? I'm from Opelousas, Louisiana, and that's where I was born and raised. I moved to Dallas, Texas area. My son was 10 months, and he is now 31 years old with a 6-year-old. So everybody says I'm truly a Texan, not a Louisianian, right? Because I've been here now more than I was in Louisiana. And so my birthday is July 30th. And so that's just personally about me. I have 2 adult children. I've told you about my son already, and I have a daughter. She's 29 and she's single, no children, back at home. But
are you looking for suggestions here?
Yes, I know, right? Okay. I always tell everybody, I don't know what's more challenging, right? Little kids or grown kids, I tell you. But it's fun. She's a good girl. She has a criminal justice degree, but she's just trying to, figure out what she want to do. So it's like, hey, at any time she jump back in and come back with the parents, right? And I have a 6-year-old granddaughter, Sage, and then I have an 11-year-old grandson, Jude. And so me and my husband have been married 24 years. So that's just a little personal about me. I have been in compliance with a large hospital system here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for about 22 years. I actually just posted my CEO gave me a little cute little email.
Yeah.
So me congratulations. Nice. So I was like, oh, it's just the little things, I had to post that with everybody. That made me feel so special. So I have made my anniversary this month, and it's going good. Compliance, it takes a transition from going from an abstract coder to a biller and an auditor, and then getting in compliance, right? Because everything is about risk. So you have to look at things differently. When you're in coding and billing, you're more about revenue cycle reimbursement. When you're in auditing, you're making sure that documentation right. But in compliance, it's all about risk, right? So that's been a challenge, trying to retrain my brain and get on board with that. But I have wonderful mentors like Christine Hall that's been able to help me and guide me and offer me any help that I need and support. Terry Fletcher's been valuable too. So I'm getting there. I work closely with a lady too named Tamara Levy, and she's been an asset as well. So it's just been great. It's Tamara more actually, but it's been great. It's been great. And so that's where I'm at right now. You know, and this micro-credential topic really heightened me, because like I told you before, that term micro-credential, I really hadn't investigated and looked into it. So it was really enlightening for me to look at it and see the different ones out there by the different organizations for this talk. So I really appreciate you having me. It's my honor to serve today.
Oh, thank you. All right. So now also in the micro-credential topic, besides your core credential, which technically could be considered a micro-credential, you have micro-credentials yourself. And I also myself have micro-credentials. So looking at I looked up officially the definition for microcredential is compact credentials that verifies the achievement of in-demand skills and competencies. And currently what we do in coding, billing, auditing, compliance is very in demand on our healthcare side. So if your credential is not a degree, you know, then that's considered a micro credential. So, you know, your CPC, your CCSP, you know, all of those. But for AAPC, you know, they have their core credentials, and then, you know, what they would consider the micro credentials would be all the ones under those that we're going to discuss in a minute. So first, you know, just to kind of throw it out there for people that that's kind of what we're talking about when we mention micro credentials.
Yes.
So, do you think that it's a good idea for people to obtain micro credentials? You know, just again, for your opinion. And as we're talking, as I always say for everybody, if you have questions or comments as we're discussing things, please go ahead and throw them in. And, you know, we'll pull one in that are germane, or we'll get to them at the end, depending on how we're discussing things. But yeah, please start throwing your questions in for us. So.
Yes. So to answer that question, well, of course I do, right? Because I have a few. So I do value them. I tell everybody it helps individuals, I think, with their milestones that they're working toward, to give them that recognition for their endeavors, you know, that they're going to do. Also, it just helps them facilitate and be engaged and focused, right, on education and career goals. Sometimes we lose that focus. I tell everybody we're lifetime learners, right? And when we get those micro credentials, just studying for them is a validation of your learning outcomes. It helps you set you apart from being more specialized in a certain area, like my CCC, for instance, with cardiology, or my CAN-PC for anesthesia and pain management. So they just help you and set you apart, and it can help you kickstart your career, right? Sometimes going to college is not for everybody, you know, and it takes longer. It could be more costly, you know, because micro-credentials could be more affordable at a time in your life than it would be to go for a 2 or 4 year or master's degree or bachelor's, whatever degree you want to go for. So I definitely am a big proponent of them. I think they're great. And hey, they've enhanced my career because I am one that don't have an advanced degree. And, you know, and I tell everybody, and I'm teaching, and I've taught at a college level, which I didn't think I could do. So because of the micro credentials, I am where I am today. So I definitely am a proponent of them.
Good. Yeah, I have the CPCD, you know, for dermatology, and I also have a CCSP with the HEMA. I have a CDIP with the HEMA, the documentation practitioner, and then, you know, with AAPC. So I kind of, you know, bridged both ways, you know, in what I was doing. And for me, because of my business, you know, especially when my business, when it was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, you know, when I was trying to get clients and get my foot in the door at places, you know, when I would give my business card, you know, my thought process was, if I have credentials on there that somebody recognizes, you know, it kind of opens that door. So I was going to facilities and hospital systems. I wanted to make sure I had an HEMA credential because back then that's the one that they recognize things
That's
from
right.
HEMA.
Yes.
When I go to physician practices, I liked my AAPC ones, so because that's what they recognize. So for me, it was kind of a business decision to kind of make sure that I covered both ways. Why did you get micro-credentials?
You know me, I'm going to be real transparent and honest, because my job made me. So when I first started in at the large hospital system, I went in as a team lead, and I did not have any cardiology certifications. And to continue to be a team lead in cardiovascular, it was a requirement. You had to get your CCC within 6 months of hire. And also when I was at the anesthesia practice, they didn't make it as forceful of a requirement, but I thought it was helpful because you're communicating, you're educating physicians, and you're talking about documentation and things that's required. And those credentials validate you. They help them to feel confident that you know what you're talking about. You've been through the study, and no one knows everything, right? So it's not that you are some fancy scholar and you know it all. That's not what I'm implying. But at least it validates you, and it says, hey, she does know some of the foundational information, and she could be a good resource to be able to go to get clarity on those specific specialties like anesthesia and pain management and cardiology, even evaluation and management, because I do have my CEMC. So I think that it's just valuable, and I got them mainly because of my job. I wanted to make sure it gave me the validation I needed with communicating with my staff, with the providers, with management, just with everyone, so they can be confident that I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah. And and we were talking about this the other day too. I do know that there are some people, and I've seen, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was posting on LinkedIn that they had just gotten another new credential. We're putting it out there, and they seem to be collecting them. And I know you said you had someone that was that way too. That bless their hearts. If that's if that's your thing, is to go rack up the letters on
alphabet soup.
More power to you. But yes, I'm of that mindset right now too, that unless it's something I really, really think I need personally, I don't want to take another test.
I know. I know. But, you say that. I'm guilty though. I am currently studying to bridge to HCCA with my CHC. So I get you. But I'm like you. If it's not like a work thing, like where I'm working in it to validate it and use it for work, I'm not just racking up the credentials either. And those can be costly. I do love that, with some of the organizations, once you get so many, the CEUs kind of max and top out, so you don't continue. But when you start doing all these different organizations and credentials, it could be very costly.
Yeah, that is one thing, when we look at like pros and cons kind of thing of the micro credentials. I think the pros, as we were talking about, that, it helps to kind of validate your expertise, and to show that, you had it. And again, everybody that's watching and all of us know that, just having that credential doesn't mean that, that's it, that you can have people that are not credentialed, that know maybe they're a bad test taker, that kind of thing. But, I mean, for, an employer or possible employer, you kind of get that little foot there, right, in the door. Yeah. But on the, kind of con side, you were bringing up, the cost issue. That's something people need to consider. Like me, I'm a member of both HEMA and AAPC, so I have 2 member dues that I have every year. There's other organizations I'm a member of that don't have credentialed, like NAMUS. I'm also a member of NAMUS. So you start looking at that to where, okay, what are you putting out for keeping those credentials and having those associations, and start to try to see, is it still worth it, kind of thing, where sometimes you got to start thinking about it. But that would kind of be a con. On the con side would be the cost issue. You do have to pay to take the exam. You probably are going to want to buy a study guide or go to some kind of refresher class. Somebody like you at your training institution, you know. So there are sometimes upfront costs, you know, so that's something though to discuss with a potential employer, that, hey, you know, you're going to a cardiology group or urology group or whatever, you know, they have this micro-credential, you know, I would like to get it. It's going to benefit the practice because, you know, that's what we do here. You know, how about, you know, footing the bill for this, or, you know, what can you help me with this kind of thing, or use it to say, well, now I've proven this. How about an increase in pay?
That's,
you know,
true. Yes.
Those are some things on the pro side, right?
Yes. Definitely. You definitely can use it to leverage your salary, because that's one of the pluses also. When you get the advanced micro-credentials, especially for specialized specialties like OBGYN or cardiology, pain management, yes, you can definitely propose that to them. And a lot of the organizations, they will go ahead and reimburse you when you pass the test. They won't initially, but if you study and you prove yourself and you pass, they definitely will reimburse you. So I do think that is a plus, and it can definitely help you.
Yeah, and I think too, sometimes the employers, they might not know. I mean, I was at a practice before, a dermatology practice, and was saying something about, and everybody always asks me, what do all those things mean, you know, behind your name, you know, so you have to go through it.
That alphabet soup, right?
And I said the dermatologist, and they said, oh, I mean, they didn't even know it existed. They said, well, I didn't know they had that. So for those of y'all that are in specific specialties and are thinking about different micro-credentials, you know, it's always, I think, you know, a good idea to talk to your employers, because they might not know these things exist and would be happy to support you, you know, to keep you, and they understand the benefits to themselves, you know, for having these. So, you know, always have that discussion, you know, print the stuff up and look at it. And so we were going to put up some different organizations that have them. And this isn't all of the organizations. These were just some of the ones that were big, you know, that you know, kind of came to my mind when I was searching and when Kimberly and I were talking about it. But before I show that, Kimberly, I wanted to put up here Lady's comment. That she's working on her auditing credential. She just got her GI credential. So congrats on that one. But she says, you're right, Kimberly. I love that you reach out to others to get better. So I just wanted to share that with everybody, because that's what it's all about, you know. So with our different organizations, you know, AHIMA, of course, is one of the big two. We have AHIMA and AAPC. And with AHIMA, they have the RHIA and RHIT, but those are tied to degrees. So you have the associates or the bachelors. And so then they have the micro-credentials under that. And at some CHM, at some approved organizations, institutions, if you have a micro-credential and are going for your RHIA or RHAT, your bachelor's or your associate's degree, they will give you credit for some of your courses by having the micro-credential. It's something that more of the colleges and universities have been doing. So that's something to keep in mind too. If you think that one day you want to get your degree, then having an AHIMA micro-credential could be helpful in that it may transfer over and give you some credits towards your degree. So
that's a wonderful plus.
AHIMA, always any credit you can get, you know, when they give the life credit or the testing stuff, and I always look for that stuff.
That's right. Yes, it saves on your pocket, right?
Certainly. And you know, you've already done it and you're doing
That's
it.
Right. Why do it again? Yeah,
exactly. So this is for AHIMA. So with AHIMA, they have the CCS, which is for the certified coding specialist, which is more for the inpatient side. And then they have the CCSP, which is the same for the physician. That's the one that I hold. Then they also have the CDIP, which is for documentation improvement, which again is another one that I hold. And so they have the variety there of their credentials. with AAPC, which is one that is the other of the big two, which a lot of people here, especially people that are on the program today, are familiar with. You know, they have their core, the CPC, the CPCOC, the CPMA. So, you know, they have their cores, and then they have micro credentials under them, and they have, I think, probably the most micro credentials. Wouldn't you agree?
Almost every specialty you can think of for cardiothoracic. They even have a dental one now. So yes, they have a lot.
Yeah, family practice, ED, urology, you know, E&M, you know, so yeah, if there's a specialty for it, they either have one or they might be developing one. So
I know. It's in the works, right?
And with theirs, back in the day when we first started with the micro credentials at AAPC, you had to be a CPC, a COC, you had to have a core credential, and then you could start, you know, getting micro credentials. But they changed that practice. And so now people that all they code is cardiology, that's all they want to code, that's what they specialize in, they can get the micro credential, the CCC or the CVT. It's too many.
I know, right? Yes, I know what you mean. But yes, and I did work with some colleagues that only had those credentials. Just they had their cardiology CCC, or, you know, I know people, they just have their OBGYN. And so that does help them to prove themselves in that specialty and link up with that. So yes, that was an open door.
And I was just thinking, you know, I know we talked about this the other, but it could also be if you are kind of around one specialty, but you're afraid about the CPC because it's everything. And you're like, oh, it's just, I don't know most of the sections yet, you know. So now you can get that micro credential for your specialty, and then you start to kind of get into that exam and study mode to, you know, and then maybe that would give you kind of the courage, you know, to kind of move into one of the core credentials.
Definitely.
So that's a good idea too.
Yeah, you're right. Because once you tackle it on the level that you're most confident in, and you see, oh, it's not that bad. The concepts are what I know, and you break down the ICD-10 for cardiology and your CPT, then it maybe give you a little more courage and self-assurance for you to say, oh, now I can do the CPC, which will give me a little bit of all the different specialties. So you can have that as well. Yes.
Yeah. And then we also have, and I always mess this one up, because I was speaking with Christine Hall because we co-presented for the NSCHBC for their Behavioral Health Summit. And we were talking, and you don't want to keep saying the full name. That's why we make the abbreviations, right? Because you don't want to keep saying the full name. And I was like, okay, and it's the N, and she's like going to, and I'm like, I said, I think there's a Q in there somewhere.
That's so funny. Look, you're better than me because I have to write them down. I went on and wrote it out. National Society of Certified Healthcare Business Consultants. I'm like, I'm not going to remember that. I got to write it out.
And Christine, being, you know, Christine, she was like, no, Betty, there's no Q in there.
I can only imagine. She is such a hoot.
So this is an organization, and Terry Fletcher is very involved with the NSCHBC. They have a micro credential of a CHBC, which is a Certified Healthcare Business Consultant. So for those of us that are in the consulting realm, you know, if that's something, if you didn't know this organization was out there, you know, when you become a member, they also, you know, Terry does broadcasts and podcasts and webinars. And as I said, we just did the first Behavioral Health Summit. There's other ones that come out. So it's something that you may want to go, you know, and take a look at. So this is their link here to get to the organization and check them out. All right. And then we, on the CDI side of it, as I said, AAPC has one, AHIMA has one. This organization, ACTIS, is the Association for CDI Specialists. So they also have some, of course, CDI then credentials. They have a CCDS, which is a certified CD, clinical documentation specialist. And then they have a CCDSO, which is the same for outpatient, which I kind of like. I like that a lot of these organizations do have the two differentiations there, because a lot of us, concentrate on one side over the other. And it would be hard. Like, it would be hard for me to get one that was DRG, inpatient, kind of focused, that, POA stuff and, present, all that kind of stuff in there. That's not the world that I heavily am into. And so, I would struggle to get one of those kinds of certifications. So I'm glad that they see that we have the two sides to the industry here. So it's nice when they do have the branching and let you show the specialty and then subspecialty, so to speak, on the outpatient versus inpatient side. I really like that.
Oh, yes. And even if you did, because I am intrigued by inpatient. I haven't take the leap to try to, really, really focus in, but it is one. But I love that they are separate. You're right, because it takes your brain, like I say, even with compliance, you got to turn one off and turn the other on. And there are things about inpatient that's so different from outpatient. So at least if you did want to bridge into that area, they have them separate so you can have your focus in the right place so that you can be successful and you're not jumping back and forth, because that would be challenging for me as well, trying to keep my brain together to code inpatient versus outpatient.
Yep. We got a comment here, and I can't see who it is. Sometimes on LinkedIn, it shows us, if you're watching on LinkedIn, sometimes it shows your name, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know why LinkedIn does that, but it does. So this is a LinkedIn user that said, I like the idea that you're able to branch outside of HEMA and AAPC for additional learning and credentials. That's what I'm starting to do with the CRCR with the HFMA. And like I said, I certainly didn't pull all the different organizations, because in fact, Kimberly, you just mentioned one at the beginning that you were looking at.
That for the healthcare compliance. Yeah.
So,
and that was Natasha, by the way. I can see it on my end. It was Natasha.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, thanks, Natasha. On my platform, it doesn't show it to me for some reason. So if there is an organization that any of the listeners, if it's not one that we discussed, if you want to throw up, the name of one or what their a link is to their site so people can check it out, because I think it's a good idea, to kind of see what other things, because you need to find something that fits for you. There may be a specialty organization, so to speak, like ACTIS or like AMBA, the one I'm going to bring up next, that if that's your niche, then maybe that's kind of where you like to kind of be, like totally immersed with your peeps,
That's right. Keep me all together with my little peeps, right?
And so, like, some of these organizations too, like ACTIS, I know they have, they hold conferences just like, the other organizations do. ACTIS has a conference every year. In fact, I was supposed to speak at their conference last year, but I had to have my surgery. So I had to, I was not able to go and speak for them. But so those are things too that you can see, what kind of different events are being offered by these associations. Even if you don't become a member, you might still want to attend an event that they're having, because maybe it's close by you, or maybe there's things in there that are really interesting, or even webinars, to find different webinars from places.
Oh, yes. And I love it right now. We are in a virtual culture. I tell everybody COVID was so devastating, but this is one of the blessed benefits that came out of it, is the virtual networking and the virtual conferences and presentations we can all attend. It's just phenomenal. And so I really love that. And almost every organization, I think, I can't think of anyone since COVID happened that haven't bridged to where you can attend some type of virtual conference, you know, and get some type of credit depending on what your credentials are. So that's a great thing.
Yeah, either virtual or hybrid, where they'll do the streaming kind of thing now.
Exactly.
I think it's really, I totally agree with the one good thing out of COVID was doing this, because it's allowed people to kind of expand and things that you couldn't have attended before. Now, so many of them are offered virtually or hybrid, so that you're allowed to. Even AAPC, the conference next year, they're doing the hybrid thing, so you can stream it. You know, I will say next week is the CPT symposium.
Oh yes, that's right, with AMA.
Yes. Yeah. But I was bummed when they said they were holding it virtually this year. I wish they would have done hybrid, because I was looking forward to going to Chicago for a couple of days.
Oh, yes, we love Chicago. I know. I love going to get my pizza and my dip sandwich.
And caramel corn.
Yes, yes. You got to get that. You've got to get the popcorn. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, so but they went totally virtual again this year. So maybe next year. I'm hoping next year, because I like the in-person, you know, getting to mix and mingle and see people is kind of good too. But you know, I think it's very good, and you broaden, you know, just broaden the bases of what you get exposed to, being able to do so many things virtually. So it has helped with that. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
Now, AMBA is another one, the American Medical Billing Association, and they have like a whole ton of different ones that are kind of specialized more toward the billing and reimbursement side. So again, if this is kind of your bailiwick, you know, they have a certifications in like medical reimbursement, medical coding, billing compliance. I think they had the so that they really, you know, have those to that side specifically, and they just had their annual conference. And Sonal, I don't know if Sonal's on or not.
She is. And she even posted about PMI with the CMC.
Okay. Yeah, she just went to the AMBA conference. They just had their annual conference. So again, you know, things that you can kind of take a look at. So let me pull up our last one that I had, and then we can kind of go and look at the comments and the different ones that people have put out there. So the last one that I had just chosen was the AIHC, which is the American Institution of Healthcare Compliance. So like the HCCA is what and they have, again, a whole slew of different micro-credentials. They have it in clinical appeals and healthcare auditor, and they even have a forensic auditor one, which I think is kind of neat. In fact,
that's the one that was a revenue cycle as well. They have a revenue cycle management that they have as well.
So yeah, they have, you know, so a lot of these organizations, because they're like subspecialties, if you want to think about it that way, you know, they have maybe some different nuances to some of these micro credentials they offer that maybe some of the people watching, you know, like didn't know existed. You know, I was like, oh, this is what I do, and I have this, but this, you know, I didn't even know this was there. So kind of one of the purposes for doing this. So I really, again, want to thank you for joining me and doing this, because it's kind of fun digging through these.
Yes, and that's what I say. We don't know it all by ourselves. But when we connect with all these phenomenal people in our business of healthcare industry, we know it all. And I take that from my good friend Christine Hall, because, you know, she says that all the time. So networking is key. If we can all get together, pick each other's brains, get a little piece from Betty, a little piece from Christine, a little piece from me, we know enough to do what we need to do. So that's a great thing.
Yep. And we're always here to help. So
always. Yes.
All right, so we have Barbara saying she got her CDI apprenticeship with Actis. Well, good, congrats.
Congrats, Barbara. Barbara also did my CPMA and got her CPMA. So she's just rocking it. Good to you, Barbara. Keep it
double
going.
Class. And then, let's see. Kim says, hey, Kim, when looking at the CDI credentials, how can we distinguish on which one gives us more traction? Again, you know, and Kimberly, I'll ask you to kind of throw in here. I think it might depend on the organization you work for, you know, and what's, you know, kind of, if there's a nuance to the other credential, but, you know, if you work for a facility, you know, AHIMA has the CDIP. So if you already have a HEMA, I've been places before where they say, well, they'll pay for one membership for us. So, you know, so if it's under a HEMA because they're already a HEMA members, it might be easier for that. If they're already AAPC members, you know, I think that they all act as because they're subspecialized, so to speak, to CDI. You know, the pro to that would be that is their niche. I would say the con to that might be recognition, like elsewhere, like when you're going places, they might not recognize what that is. So, but I don't think there's like one better than the other one. That's what I think. Kim?
Yes, I think the same thing. I do think it is definitely your employment culture. So at my employer, a lot of the people that I work with, the CHC for compliance is what they go to. And a lot of it is because a lot of them are lawyers, and the lawyers hook up with the healthcare compliance and for HCCA and SCCE. So that's what's pushed, and that's the culture of my employer. It's definitely not to say that ASCED or any of what is that, AIHC, all of those probably have a very reputable compliance program. And so I agree with Betty. It's not that one's better than the other. It's what your goals are and where you want to go with it when you get it. So I always tell people, look at what's the employment market for it. So go out there and look up the credential that you're thinking about getting and see how many employers are out there on LinkedIn, on Monster, on Indeed, and how many of them are seeking that. Because what you don't want to do, right, is invest into a credential and then you get out there and no one is looking to hire someone for that credential. So that's kind of what I do. But definitely a lot of mine have been employed based on the employment culture of where I'm working at the time. And that's why I chose HCCA, because my employer, they do a lot of CHC.
Great. And we have a question for you from Lady. She says, in what order do you use your credentials? Is there any specific way to do it? I put them in the order I received them.
You know what, Lady? I don't think there's a specific order. I will tell you, too, it depends on what I'm seeking. So if I'm looking for an auditing job, when I do my resume, I'm going to put that CPMA up there first. When I get my compliance CHC, if I'm seeking compliance, I'm going to put that up there first. Because we know employers and recruiters and those people, they don't have a lot of time. And they get like stacks and stacks of resumes a day. So I always say promote and put up front what it is that you're seeking out. On my email signature, I just kind of have them in an order that I think flow well. It's not even the order that I got them. I just put my core credentials first. So like my CPC, my CPCI, my CPB, those are first. And then my specialty credentials are after. But that's just my preference. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to do it. Because I see people all the time, they put their CPC at the end. But again, it's because when I look at them, they're working in auditing. So they put that CPMA up front because they want people to see I'm validated in auditing. So I definitely get that.
Yep, I do the same thing, Kimberly. I put on my email signature, I put my core credentials first and the other ones after. But if I am going into like pitch to a practice or to a health system or to, you know, so that's something that I always make sure that, you know, I kind of switch around in the material that I send out to them, just so that, and I also, like we'll make a little note about that in the stuff when I'm sending them introductory letters or from conversations, so you can have confidence in me, and in the company, we do have the credential in this or whatever.
That's right. Because I'll tell you that they won't care a whole lot about my CAN PC credential if I'm applying for a cardiovascular position. Okay. So you want to push that CCC instead. So that's kind of how I do it.
Right? That's awesome. Let's see, what else do we have here? Approved instructor. So people are going for, Catherine Rose. Good to see you again, Catherine. She's going for her CPMA next. She has 5 already. Somebody stop me.
That's right, Catherine. Keep it going. Lifetime learner, right?
Yep. I think I have 8. So, and yeah,
I think 7. I think I've 7. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unless I'm made to again, or unless something really, I really have to have it, then I think I'm kind of done.
I'm with you on that. I'm the same way. It's like when I get a credential, I promise you it's one that I'm pretty much using for an employer or a education instructor that I am doing. Because if it's not for that purpose, I'm not going to study for it.
Yep. Oh, now somebody, and I'm not, says, I agree. I'm most likely going to go for my ROCC since I code radiation oncology.
Ah, yeah.
Are you familiar with the ROCC?
I've heard about it. I've heard about it from other colleagues that I know went and got that, but that is a very intense certification. It is regarding oncology. Radiologic oncology, if I'm correct, and I'm speaking from memory, so that's just my little Kimberlyism on it. Don't hold it to be official, but if I remember correctly, but yeah, that's pretty intense. Mm-hmm.
This might be the answer to that. See, this is why, again, this shows that all going together.
Oh, Haley, so I was kind of on the right track. Thanks, Haley.
She looked at her radiation oncology, so it was AMAC USA.com ROCC. So that's our answer. Thank you, Haley.
Yeah.
And then somebody else put up the HFMA for us.
Nice.
So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody says they recently came across Camila, if I'm saying that right, I hope I am, came across the CEMA, not sure what the letters stand for, but is that through NAMUS? NAMUS no longer has the credentials. They had the auditing credential, and then they got into partnership with AAPC for it. So NAMUS now you have membership in NAMUS, and they do like their yearly event is in December, and they're having it in Savannah, Georgia. So that'll be so nice.
Oh, we love Savannah. We took a trip there. That is a wonderful place to go. Yes.
Yes. So no, NAMUS doesn't specifically have credentials now. So I'm not.
I've seen the CEMA that she's talking about, and it's regarding E&M for evaluation and management. But I'm not sure if NAMUS still does it. I agree, like you. I think they've since transferred those over to AAPC, but AAPC is the CEMC for E&M. So I'm not sure if that CEMA is still a NAMUS credential you can obtain.
Yeah. And we have the PMI, and that's one that I think Sonal was also talking about, right? So Practice Management Institute. Her CMC comes from them. Medicare CMS has supported PMI for a long time, but not as recognized as AAPC and HEMA. Oh, Sonal. Hey, Sonal. So, yes. So this is all really good stuff.
Yes, and Sonal is one of my presenters for my upcoming colloquium too. So I'm so happy you are as well. And I'm just super excited. I'm about to pop. I can't wait for Saturday.
So that, and I think other people are marking notations in here about their different degrees and things like that, or their different credentials and stuff. So that's really good. So there's a whole lot One I want to put up before we talk about that is wish me luck testing out for COC, CPCO, and CDEO. I hope not like one right after the other, like one day apart or anything.
I know that. Diana, you are a overachiever, girl. You better get it. I can't even wrap my mind around studying for all those at the same time. And
yeah,
I
having to switch each time. So yes, very good luck.
You do. Happy learning to you.
And a lot of people putting in what they're doing. So that's really, really good. So thanks everybody for sharing links in here for us.
Yeah,
please go ahead and keep putting them in there as we're talking for different places that you have credentials for, and ones that, you know, you think would be good for people to go check out. But we're coming up on our time. So before we wrapped up today, I did want to discuss what we have on your plate coming up this weekend, Kimberly, that I will be at and Sonal will be at. So we have your colloquium coming up.
Yes, that is coming up. It is this Saturday and Sunday. It is virtual, and all of them are pretty much going to be recorded. I have 3 that's going to be live, but they still will be recorded and available on demand until the end of November. I would definitely put the links in the chat, and I am just super excited. The lineup for you all to be able to check out, you will be able to see it's just phenomenal. I am so appreciative, and I thank God for all of these wonderful elite presenters that teamed up with me to put this on for everybody. We've made it so affordable. It's like $6.38 a CEU for 19 CEUs that you can just sit at home in your pajamas when you want at your leisure until the end of the month and earn. So I'm hoping that everyone will look into it and definitely register. Registration is open until midnight on Friday. So, because I just can't, and actually it'll be open until the end of the month. I just won't be actively adding people until the following Monday because I'll be manning the conference, and it's just too much, y'all. I'm one person. I don't have a whole team of people. It's just me, just little Kimberly. So I'm like, I have to time out for the weekend so I can keep up with the conference, and then I'll add people in on Monday for anybody that purchased after Friday at midnight. But I hope you all chime in. It's my Jolivette Coding Institute colloquium. And I'll tell you all, I got that fancy word when I was an adjunct instructor at the Dallas County Community College here in my area. And I said, if I ever do conferences for my business, they're going to be called colloquiums. And Jennifer McNamara, Jennifer, that's another one of my great friends, and we network all the time. And she was like, we should get together and do something when the pandemic hit. She was like, we should really do something to help people out. They're having trouble getting their CEUs and this and that. And I was like, okay, great. You do one, and then we'll wait like 5-6 months, and then I'll do one. And we started this together in 2020, and both of us are still at it. So it's just been phenomenal. She's also a presenter. I just love it. I could not have imagined that I'd be at this place with such wonderful networking colleagues like you and all the rest of them. It's just a blessing. I just thank God for it. I think He's been so faithful, and the relationships just have been so positive and great.
Yeah, and speaking of Jennifer, she and I will be doing a 2023 E&M Changes webinar next week. So
I shared that. Yes, I shared it with my members. Yes, I'm planning on being there. That's going to be good.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And now your JMCI Pro. Yes. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about that too while we're finishing up here?
Yeah, so it's my Jolivette Coding Institute. And if any of you know me, y'all know I'm proud of my Jolivette, right? That's my daddy's name. He passed away when I was 12. So that's why I go by Kimberly Jolivette Williams. I know it's long. I know it's a mouthful, but it's to honor my daddy, so I do it. So my company is Jolivette Coding Institute, which my grandmother raised me to be proud of that name. So I love it. And it is an education platform. And it's all about education and helping promote people to be successful and transitioning their careers. So I currently do specialty webinars and specialty workshops. And I have right now a CPMA that I'm running. I have a cardiology one that I'm running. I've done CAN PC for anesthesia and pain management. And I do webinars on different focal things. And so that is where I'm running this colloquium out of. And it's all, again, I prize myself, I will tell you all, on having affordable education. When I first got into this arena, I was a single mother. And it was so hard for me. I wanted my certification for years, y'all, and I couldn't afford to get it. I really couldn't. I was a single mother, you know, sometimes making decisions at the gas pump, right? And so I couldn't do it. And so I pride myself. I always said, if I ever got in a position where I can offer education, I'm going to make sure it's affordable. And so that's one reason why I try to make sure when I do these things, I try to keep those CEUs at a very good, affordable rate. So, but that's what I do at Jolivette Medical Institute. I also offer some tools. I was able to do a cardiology E&M audit tool for 2021, and I put that out there. I have a anesthesia and pain management resource just to help you get immaculated. I call them, I don't like to use the term cheat cards. I like to use quick reference guides, right? that's
Kimberly, they're called job aids.
Yes, job aids. Yay! I like that too. So I have those out there as well. So I've had this business. I started it in 2019 with the pandemic and everything, and I've just been blessed that it's still going on. So that's Jolivette Medical Institute, and we go by JMCI acronym because I know it's a lot to say. It's a mouthful, right? So we use the JMCI.
Now, a question with your CEUs, they're AAPC CEUs, right?
Yes,
so if
they're HEMA too. Now, a HEMA, how it works is, you know, you have to fit it into their domain. So you check with a HEMA. I put it on for the last 3 years, and everybody that I know that was with a HEMA has been able to get credit for them. So I say, go check those domains, and pretty much every presenter that I have, you can find a HEMA domain that they can be accredited to, and a HEMA does honor AAPC CEUs. So you should be able to use them for them as well.
Yeah, when I do my things, like my webinars on my site, are all AAPC approved, and being an HEMA member also, you know, they're always accepted through a HEMA. You just have to put them in when you go to enter your CEUs in. Instead of saying they're pre-approved, you just have to enter them in manually and saying what it's for. But I've never had a CEU rejected that has been AAPC approved. So yeah. And then just so you know, Kimberly, somebody said they received an error after they tried your link. So you might want to double check it.
Yeah, here, I'll put it back in there again, but it should be working just fine. I've definitely had several people to register. So let me make sure. I think maybe if I tried to do 2 at once. So I'll do them separately because I put the marketing thing.
But there's Haley again. There's our friend Haley. She the rescue.
Hey, Haley. I know I love me some Haley. Thank you, girl. I appreciate you. But yes,
so look at this. Everybody coming to our rescue here. That's so nice to see.
Lady.
And then
lady.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes, you also right also.
Lady also put a comment in here. I just wanted to share with you before we sign off that she said she loved your mojo and your vibes are so contagious. So she was watching you.
Me too. I love her inspiration. She's always posting something so inspirational, lady. You keep it up. I love your mojo too, girl.
Yeah. If y'all aren't connected with Lady, you might want to look for her on LinkedIn, and so you can see her post. She's always making very nice inspirational posts, and it's very much enjoyed by everybody. And I know, Lady, you might not get that feedback a lot, but everybody appreciates that. And like Sonal putting her posts out in her Friday funnies, I always like looking at those. So
she had a good one out there today. Go look at Sonal's page and see what she put out there today. I read hers this morning and I was like, oh, that's so good. So yes, I love all the positive inspiration. This is a time where we can't get enough of that, right?
That's definitely true. So, and then everybody now is telling us, oh, and then Kim, with your, thank you for sharing part of your story there. So that's inspiring. So that's really nice. So yes, everybody. And somebody else is seconding us. Lady isn't amazing. Yes, she is. And they're, of course, always graceful too. So thank you, Lady. We appreciate you.
Yes.
And Sonal, of course, your little heads up for Sonal.
Yes, she is so amazing. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Kimberly, for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for joining and being so interactive today. This has just been fabulous.
Yes, phenomenal. It has been my honor to serve each of you. Y'all have a thriving Thursday.
Yes. Happy Baby Friday again. Yes. And thanks for watching and tuning in with us. When this gets cleaned up, it'll be put out on the YouTube channel, so y'all can go revisit it there if you'd like, and then watch for the next healthcare happenings to see what's happening in healthcare. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.